Film is going to be Drop. So Drop is a movie directed by Christopher Landon. Landon, people might know his work. He did the Happy Death Day movies there. He also did Freaky. And you can see that a little bit, the tone, some kind of stuff there that kind of goes on in those films. And I like the Happy Death Day movies. I like those quite a bit there. I did not end up seeing Freaky. I did not see that, but I did really like Happy Death Day. Um, so Drop here in his latest movie, what is it about? So you have this woman here who's a widow, a mother. It's played by Megan Fahy there, and then she's trying to get back out there again. You know how rough that can be there. Trying to date in your mid 30s, meet people there, and she ends up matching with this guy on a dating app and decides, hey, I'm gonna go out with this guy. But on this date, she starts getting the worst thing of all, terrible memes. She starts getting these airdrops there, even though it's not called airdrops in the movie. They call them digi drops is what they call them in this. So they don't actually have the term airdrops in this. They can't use that. And she's being told through these messages that she has to kill her date, and if she doesn't kill her date, then they're going to end up killing her family, her son, and her sister. Right, is the one that's looking after her son while she's on the date.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's the setup you have of this movie is how she's actually going to make it out of this situation. What's going to go on? Is she actually going to kill her date? Is she going to figure out who's been sending her these awful memes and messages? Yeah. So, Chris, what is your thoughts on Drop?
Drop. Yeah, this is solid stuff. It's a movie where you can very much feel its influences, like it's wearing its influences very much on its sleeves. As far as as far as it's concerned within the larger like Christopher Landon oeuvre, I guess it's less inherently comedic than some of his other movies like Happy Death Day or Freaky, even though there's a couple of like like comedic relief moments in there and one major like comic relief side character. It's much more of like a straightforward like thriller. Like, yeah, these are the stakes and shit will go down if you fuck this up, and it manages to wring a lot of tension out of this scenario because it is like a really neat premise that's like right for tense moments and great suspense sequences and cool set pieces, and that he's able to mine a lot of that through his filmmaking. You could also feel the influence of De Palma, particularly with a lot of the angles and how he uses lighting in a lot of scenes. Like there's a lot of shots where it'll start off like really brightly lit, like how the rest of the movie is, but then like it starts to get darker and darker, except for whichever character, usually our lead, we're focusing on in that shot, where like she's like sort of the only source of light in the entire shot, and everything else around her is just complete pitch black. And he does a lot of cool shit like that throughout the course of the movie to sort of keep it moving at a really good clip. And you've got two pretty good leads. Megan Fahey, who most people probably know from the second season of White Lotus. She plays the wife of Theo James's character on that show. And the guy, I spent the whole movie trying to figure out where the fuck I had seen him in, because he looks like sort of like if Joel Edgerton and Glenn Powell had a kid, but he's clearly neither of those guys. So I tried to figure out like, all right, where have I seen this guy? And then I finally realized like, oh, he's from that shitty movie from last year with Blake Lively that is now kind of notorious for the whole thing with lawsuit with her and the director of that's been going on for the past like 6 months or so. So yeah, both of them do a really good job of carrying the movie. I will say I do think the movie could have used a lot more polishing on the script. I feel like it could have used a lot more twists and turns to make it more unpredictable and not so straightforward, where you can kind of map out how it's going to play out. They do throw out some decent red herrings as the movie goes along to sort of try and throw you off its scent, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be that hard for you to figure out who is really behind all of this and what they're trying to accomplish with this crazy plan that they've got. And I'm not someone who's generally good at predicting mystery. So for me to figure it out as early as I did is like, I feel like you could have spruced this up a little bit. And I also think that some of the humor could have also used some spicing up. Like there's one comic relief character, the waiter who keeps popping in and out throughout the course of the movie, where it's like, yeah, this guy is not very funny. You probably should have given him some better material to work with.
Yeah,
Um,
the
but
waiter.
yeah, I don't know if he's in this trailer. They might show him at some point. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it could have definitely used a more of a punch to the dialogue in a lot of scenes and the general plot. But I think the stuff that does work, namely the filmmaking and the setup and the two leads, are enough to carry it through to where it still manages to be a decent time at the movies.
Hmm, okay. Um, yeah, so you got this setup here, mostly just taking place in this restaurant, like I said, she's, been ordered to kill her date. Kinda reminded me a little bit of, like, The Commuter, that Liam Neeson movie where it's, like, this regular person who gets charged with, okay, they gotta do this crime, but, they get told by somebody, it's like, "Hey, if you do this or something bad's gonna happen, and we're making you do this." And
Or
it
Red
kinda
Eye.
Red Eye, that's another one there, and it's kinda like, again, I just never understood the premise of these type of things because it's like, if you're really this this organization or outfit or person here who wants this other person gone, why would you rope in this regular person when you can just hire somebody, take all that resources and money to just hire somebody to just do the job properly? There you go. They wouldn't even have any big moral issue, quandary about it, and you wouldn't have to fight them on it. Just like, okay, I paid you to do the job, just do the job and be over with. But so that's kind of one of the things there that I don't like about this. Um, and when it actually gets revealed of, the whole premise and, like the more things get revealed and who actually behind everything like that, it's I mean, whatever. I mean, maybe you're gonna see it as dumb. Maybe you're gonna just gotta go with it, whatever. And go like, okay, well, I'm already into this, and whatever. I'm just gonna kind of go with it there. Megan Fahy there, she does a decent job I think at playing the lead of this. I think she's pretty good there. And then she has a whole like backstory with involving her and why how she became a widow. That was really well told. I thought that was kind of good there, and how she kind of told the story about that. I thought that was kind of done. I mean, the concept of the whole, I mean, them trying to incorporate modern technology with this kind of thriller now is because, hey, it's 2025 now, so it's, hey, cell phones. Obviously, that's a big thing now. And the whole kind of airdrops type thing. I mean, did you think that was a little goofy, or did you kind of with it? Because it was like, hey, it's updated for modern times, I guess, or something like that. I guess.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my feeling towards that also stems from the fact that I don't do airdrops. Like I do like the bare minimum in terms of like apps or whatever that I use. Like I mostly just like post stuff. I don't and if I like send messages to someone, it's through classic like texts and messages or whatever. I don't like airdrop pictures directly into their phone cameras. Like I don't even understand the science of how that works. Like you'll never catch me trying to do that. But I feel like they did a decent enough job explaining the basics of how it works to where I was able to kind of get over it enough to where I was able to ride with the movie as it went along. So, yeah, it's kind of goofy, but I can get on board with goofy stuff if you are able to do it in a certain way to where I'm still into what's going on, and I think this manages to do that well enough.
Mm, yeah. So, yeah, and then you have, Brandon, Sleekliner, I guess is how you say his last name there. Like I said, he was in that movie It Ends With Us there, that Blake Lively film. He was also in Emily the Criminal, which was that Aubrey Plaza film as well, if people have seen that. He's got another movie coming out later this year called, The Housemaid, so he's gonna be in
Mm.
another movie. He's decent as well. I think he makes for a charming, good looking, date there. I think he does well there. Again, you have to, I guess, suspend a little disbelief of how long would you continue on with this date as much as she's kind of leaving and getting up and seems distracted and on her phone and doing all this other stuff. And, I guess it's like, okay, how much would you really put up with that if you're on a date there? I mean, I don't know. A lot of people have a lot of terrible date stories, so maybe people would put up a lot with that kind of going on. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun, effective thriller there. It's. I think you'll have maybe a good time watching it there if this is your type of thing. If you want to watch a good thriller, I think it does that. The mystery of itself is not the most fascinating. It's more the performances in it, and more of, I guess, the lead of the actors and how they kind of react to the situations more than the actual situations themselves that are really that interesting. there. And you mentioned, like I said, Christopher Landon, who's if you people have seen his Happy Death Day movies, those what made that kind of much better than what was seen in the trailers was the writing of those movies and how kind of sharp and funny it was in that as well. And I don't know, maybe he should have maybe brought the writer from that movie over to this as well. I think maybe that would have helped this out a lot. Um, I'm looking at the writer of the first one, it was a different person, but then the writer of Happy Death Day was Christopher Landon himself. The writers on this movie are Jillian Jacobs and then Chris Roach, who are the two writers on this movie. There, I don't see any of the credits, but maybe if you could say needing maybe more of a good maybe punch there, maybe humor wise, because like I said, the waiter isn't really doing a good job at that. He's pretty terrible in all his scenes. I don't think it's the fault of the actor. I think it's the fault of just the writing that's given for him.
Yeah.
And then the climax of the movie um, uh, gets a kind of to me a little goofy with the person like you see in the trailer there. There's this guy there that that's at her home. I guess he must have been like the third shift guy, or you know what I mean. Some because it's like what happens with him is like, bro, you honestly can't do this. Like, come on now. It's but okay. So that to me got a little kind of silly there, but yeah. So for me, I would just kind of give this movie a mm, kind of a lowish tune in, stream it territory. I'll give it maybe just a stream it. What about for you, man?
I'm a lone tune in. I do think it's worth checking out in a theater if you just want to see a fun movie, especially if you go with a date and you just want to have a fun date night out. But maybe go in with lowered expectations. If you do that, I think you're going to have a more fun. I think I went in expecting more because I do like the director's other stuff so much, and I did think it was a fun concept looking at the trailer. But I don't think they did quite as much as they could have done with it, but still enough to justify checking it out at least once.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good fun date movie there. Good fun performances. Yeah, you might have some good time with it there. So yeah. Lowest tune in from Chris. Kind of I'm right there with you there towards maybe a strong stream it for drop there. That's kind of a weak name, by the way, drop. I don't know, the title's kind of weak.
Yeah.
Could have maybe come up with a better title than that. So yeah.